gym and in the car. With our advice, you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes. We talk about our sexy dates. We host events and we go to clubs. But most of all, we're still in love. It's getting hard for this to rhyme just as well, 'cause it's bed hopping time. Na, 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 na. It's bed hopping time. Na, 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 na. It's bed hopping time. Hello and welcome to the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name is Mr. H.
I'm Mrs. H.
Thank you for joining us today as I sound slightly better and Mrs. H sounds slightly worse.
Oh, wow.
Well, the cold has progressed, right?
Yeah, but it's on the way out.
They're both on the way out,
Both
as
on
are
the way
probably
out.
we. But the cold is, like, we're getting there, right?
Yeah,
Compared
100%.
to last week when we recorded, when we knocked one out in an attempt to get content to you, gentle listener, as soon as we could. But our voices were a bit buggered.
Between us, I think we're like 34% better.
We are at least a Bon Jovi. Halfway
Oh, yeah,
there.
nice.
Yeah,
All
exactly
right,
that,
yeah.
right? So quick updates before we dive into part 2 of what is our exploration of Cap Dag and the cliffhanger and all that good stuff. So our event on the 6th of September in Birmingham
Yes.
has actually sold out.
Completely
It's done.
sold out.
Completely sold out.
Yeah.
And then we added a couple more tickets and then guess what?
They sold out as well?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So
they sold
we
out
are
twice.
currently sold out. If anyone drops out or we end up with a bit more space towards the time to when the event is going to be, then we'll chuck a couple more on and we'll let you know, probably via social media because podcast timing takes a little bit of time to catch up and all that
Cool.
kind of jazz.
So keep an eye out.
Yeah, keep your eyes and ears to the ground. Maybe not your eyes to the ground. It's a bit of a weird thing,
That
isn't
is a
it?
bit
Just
weird.
look to the
Ears to the
skies,
ground.
ears to the ground. I don't know. Just keep an eye on social media for us posting and we'll let you know if any more tickets become available. I think we're sold out and then we added some more. And I'm just waiting on the last person to buy the last ticket. I've sent them the link. They're ready to do it. So hopefully that's all done and dusted and we don't have to do anything else until September. We can just coast.
Yeah.
No problems at all.
Probably no point checking TikTok for updates because that's on me.
Yeah, that is on you. So what I do want to say is thank you to everyone who's reached out about the last episode in which we covered the sort of first half or first 2/3 of our adventures in Cap Dag. And we sort of posed the question or started to pose the question, are we shit swingers? And this all
And what was the answer?
Well, kind of, maybe, a little bit.
We had a
I
lot
think-
of support.
Well, that doesn't mean that we're any good. I think that the thing where I'm coming from with this is that we'd gone away to a sexy lifestyle event,
Yep.
right? Where, the whole thing was designed to get us together and playing and interacting with lots of people, all this kind of thing. And we got to midway, just over midway through the week,
Yeah.
last couple of days. And at this point, we hadn't done really anything.
No. So you're looking for a return on your investment at this point?
Well, it's not so much a return.
In mercenary terms.
In mercenary terms. I think it's that we'd kind of gone all this way
To have an experience.
And I think I was feeling a bit frustrated by our approach and our inability to sort of build those connections quickly. Because I know that we can absolutely meet people.
Yeah.
And we typically prefer or typically work in a way where we meet people, normally at a social event or at a sort of like a social of an evening. And then we get to know them outside of that. And then we may or may not play with them after.
Correct.
And
we don't very often move immediately to the next stage.
Exactly that. And I think at this point in our Cap Dagged adventure, I kind of it really came to me as a realization that that is not our combined approach. And I say our combined approach because I think I'm probably a little bit more forwards in wanting to do that.
Okay.
And you're probably a little bit behind in wanting to do that.
So do you think you're more forward in that approach because you're less fussy or because you're more eager to do what you think we should be doing or because you're better at conversing with people?
I don't think I'm necessarily more forward in that way. I'm equally as inept.
Wow, so you're saying I'm inept?
No, I'm not saying you're inept at all. What I'm saying is that I think that we both have an ability to sit back and watch the world go by. And our natural state is to not engage with people unless we know them. And I think what we were doing at CAP is we were hanging around with and catching up with the people that we know.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
But what we weren't doing is necessarily thinking about developing in new relationships where we might want to play. And I think some of the established ones were not necessarily play dynamics,
Okay.
which is fine.
Which is
Absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's wonderful seeing those people.
But it wasn't going to get you laid, right?
Well, it wasn't.
In the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, to a certain extent. I think there are some older relationships that we've got, or established relationships, should I say, rather than older, I suppose, where play might or might not have been on the table had we chose to explore that. But I think we weren't in that space with those particular people.
Okay.
So I think I just felt like we're not really going out there and introducing ourselves to new people. So even from not necessarily with a end goal to play, I think with actually interacting with other people, I felt that we weren't really doing a great job of that. And I felt like I was trying to do it, but I'm not great at it. And I felt that you were just kind of not really partaking in that at all. So I felt a bit trapped. Because what I can't do is go off and find people and be like, hey, look at these people. And then you'd be like, oh, well, I don't really want to talk to them. So, and I don't like putting you in a situation where you feel that you have to make another move or make the next move, because I know that's not how you work.
Right.
So
now, how do you think I was feeling at this point?
Well,
because we hadn't talked necessarily in depth about our stasis situation at this point. We maybe had a few conversations, but how do you think I was feeling?
So I think you were mostly happy to be on holiday.
Right.
I think you were mostly happy to catch up with new people. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you're particularly bothered about going out and speaking to anybody new. And if you were, you really didn't show any signs of it. So my take is that you were probably happy in a space, and you tend to, for example, on holiday or an event or anything really, you like to sit back and you like to observe and see what's going on and get a measure of things. But quite often you'll end up staying in that space.
Okay, so I'll tell you in a moment how I was feeling.
Okay.
But for now, here's another question. Do you think we are compatible holiday partners?
We can be.
In that respect.
I think we can be.
We're both looking for maybe different things.
I think it can work, but I think at this point it was really clear that we weren't necessarily on the same page. And I think for me, I like the meeting new people. And even if it's not going to be a sexy outcome at the end of it, part of the joy is in talking to new folks. But I also know that from a going to socials aspect, that you'll want to go and talk to somebody else is not great sometimes.
Okay.
Go on then. How are you feeling?
All right. So at this point in the holiday, you're correct in the assumption that I was enjoying meeting the people that I already knew and reconnecting with them. You're absolutely right. I love doing that, and I very much missed people from all different parts of the country but we hadn't seen for ages.
Yeah.
So yes, that is correct.
Okay.
The other thing I was feeling was pressure. Okay. And when I say pressure, I don't mean pressure to go and have sex with people. I don't mean pressure to strike up a connection and, oh my God, sort it out, make the moons align. I felt pressure because I think I knew how you were feeling. And that concerned me that in part it was me that was culpable for that. Now, we were both responsible for how we are. We're both responsible adults and how we act and how we behave. But I did feel pressure to get it right because I knew you must be feeling a state of frustration. And I'm correct, you were.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think
it's not criticism, it's an observation that we were probably feeling different things at this point.
It's not a new frustration, though.
No, I didn't think it was.
And
but
I think
this is how it was presenting itself.
And I think, we've kind of felt this way when we've been to socials and we've been to other events. When we're hosting, it's a different story altogether, I'd say, because we are working for that. And there is
Agreed.
a sort
I think
of...
we can take that kind of out of the equation in a way because we have a very different head space that night when we're working and we're doing something different.
Because you're sort of almost paid to be out and about and doing that sort of stuff.
We're talking about recreational now.
Going out there and making new connections.
Yeah.
And I know that your typical approach is that you will, if you could get away with it, you would be quite happy chatting to the people that you know and sitting there, and that would be enough for you.
That's probably my comfort zone, right?
Yeah, and I think actually going to talk to new people, often the thing that I say is like, who do you want to talk to? Like, who do you want to find out more about? And you're like, well, no one.
Okay, and that's a question that's so literal to me. I sometimes can't fathom how I'm supposed to answer it, because then I frantically scan the area and go, oh my God, who am I? What do I do now? And then I feel pressure because I know you want an answer of some sort. But I know I can't give it to you.
Because it's a question.
Yes, but it's a very literal question.
It is, because like often we're going to an environment where at the very least we're going there to network. Otherwise, why would we go there at all? I mean, unless the sole reason is to meet people that we've already met before, but we must have met those people through some means.
Yeah, I agree. We have always met the people that we know previously through connecting with them, right? So we obviously can do it.
At a certain point, we must have met them, right?
Right.
We must have met these people because they must come from somewhere.
Correct.
And they can't all have come through like individual one-to-one or two-on-two meets. Because a lot of the people that were going on this trip, for example, or some of the people we met in Desire. Some of them we met in Libertine events or Podcasterpalooza, and other people we've met at our own events and we've become friends with outside of that.
Variety of different ways, yeah.
So we have met people previously, but where I struggle is at some point that has changed.
Okay.
And I get the sense that you don't actually want to go and meet new people, and that you're very, very content to just sit amongst your crowd. And if it's not your crowd, actually, you can't be bothered. And I mean that I'm saying that in a way that is a bit pokey, but I can't think of another way to say it. It's because you're very happy sat there with your little sphere. In fact, on holiday, I think 9 times out of 10 you would very happily sit there by yourself. Or just with me in the sun baking away, and if you only spoke to people when you got up and got a drink, that would be enough for you, having a little bit of a chat. I think that's kind of where your headspace is for the most part. So at this stage, we'd been there for a number of days. We've been there since Sunday. This is now, Thursday. What is it? I think Thursday.
Yeah, that's about right. Because we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday left.
Yeah, and we'd kind of spoken to lots of people that we already knew, or kind of, well, I had certainly. I think you'd kind of not integrated that much. I mean, unless it was like when we went out for a meal and you were sat down next to someone and you were, talking to them. Okay. In which case it's a bit more of a like 2-on-2 or whatever. But when it came to sort of going into the pool and having those conversations, getting to know some of the newer people of the group, which we hadn't met before, definitely wasn't on your agenda. So I think that frustration for me and the realization around it kind of hit me quite heavily. And I was like, well, why are we here? What's life all about? Is God really real, or is there some doubt?
I was waiting for that.
So tonight is the meaning of life. So I think, and I'm not, in no way am I having a go at you about this. I'm just trying to express the differences in our mindsets when we're at this stage. So for me, I feel like we've come all this way and we're not integrating with new people. Yes, it's been lovely to see the people that we already know, but why are we here? What is the reason for us doing this? Not because I'm looking necessarily to hook up with people, but if we're not even taking the opportunity to talk and meet new people, then what are we doing?
Okay. So at this point, I do remember asking you. So I'm back to the question we asked in part 1, which was how do you define your credentials as ethically non-monogamous by how successful you are physically connecting with people?
I think even just verbally connecting with people was kind of like that. That wasn't even, that scratch wasn't being, or itch wasn't being scratched, or vice versa. So I just felt that I have a thing, right, where I feel fraudulent.
Your imposter syndrome.
My imposter syndrome. And I'll tell you for why, in a phrase that you would use. I think it's because, so we do this podcast and, with the bedhoppers or whatever, but, we're also Simon and Carolyn, and we're also just 2 normal human beings, believe it or not, gentle listeners, that are out on their adventures and talking about them.
Right.
And I think that the fact that we're talking about our adventures and we are trying to, I don't know, role model this as much as we can, like talk about it in as positive a light. We'll talk about the shit stuff, but talk about the bad stuff. And I feel a bit fraudulent if we're not necessarily having the experience that other people go through.
Are you saying then we're bed hoppers who don't hop beds very frequently?
Well, I mean, it all... And that's
dinosaurs on this ride.
Yeah. I do feel a little bit that way. And I think that's probably me, being a bit dramatic.
Okay.
And I know that's
surely not.
I know that's not unusual, but I do feel that it would be... I feel like I'm an imposter talking about something that I don't experience myself, or at least don't so much anymore. Yes, we can talk about meeting couples and going on dates. And yes, we can talk about sort of those interactions and all that sort of stuff. But actually, I think our experience and what we live and breathe isn't about necessarily going to like play events, and isn't about hooking up in that way, because we don't tend to do it. Now, I mean, we'll carry on with the cap dagged experience, but at this point, this is how I'm both feeling. To the extent that there's a play event going on that we were looking at that's coming up soon, that we could have got tickets to.
Okay. And
for me, I think if I get tickets to that, I don't want to put myself into a situation, and us, where I'm getting frustrated with you and you're getting frustrated with me, because we're at slightly different ends of the scale.
That's fair.
And what I also don't want to do is for you to be like, oh, go on, just go off and play, because you're happy sat there chat. It just doesn't feel quite right. That's not the dynamic that we've entered this whole adventure in. So I'm in this sort of space where this is coming up a lot, and I kind of don't want to commit to things because I'm not entirely sure if events are for us. And I think that's, and I might be, as ever, being dramatic, and I might be over dramatizing all of this, but in my head, I'm feeling I'm a bit fraudulent, and we're not great at doing this stuff, and I don't want to put us in a position where we are at odds with each other, even a little bit, because it just doesn't feel like the right thing to do. Okay.
So another question's occurred to me. So bringing this into present day with yes, there's a play event that we could have got tickets for and we chose not to because we weren't quite sure we're aligned, which is fair. I'm very often, again, asking myself a question, not so much you, although I can ask you too, I guess.
What, the band? What does Bono think? What are the Edge?
Well, I mean,
and
I don't rate his opinion particularly, but okay. So these play events.
Yes.
And it doesn't really matter, I guess, how big or small the event is. In theory, we could be talking 10 people or 50 people. The question still remains. I'm wildly intrigued how people approach these and how successful they are in physically connecting with people. So do they go in with an open mind and go, right, you know what, I'm here to play. I'm Lord of Fucktime now, I'm here. I've paid my ticket. This is what I paid for. I signed up for this play event and fuck it, I'm going to play with someone. Or, like me, do they walk in there and go, well, I'm at a play event and I've paid money for this. This is all very good. And here are all the people. But at what point do I then go, right, you need to find someone that you're A, attracted to, B, is attracted to you, and C, you can get to that space of, I don't know you at all or very little, to, hey, there's a bed, let's go play. I can't, this is the bit I can't reconcile in my own head, how I move from there to there, knowing that I don't operate that way sometimes.
So, and I think, I would suggest that I wouldn't expect anyone to go to every play event and play every time.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with going and talking to people and finding out more about them, because
no, I agree completely with that. I mean the actual physical playing.
Yes, but let me get to that point.
Okay.
The challenge is that, so if I say to you, we get to a place and I go, right, who do you want to talk to? Who do you like? Or I go, who do you find attractive? And you're like, well, no one.
I don't say no one,
okay,
but I don't know the answer is an easier way of answering that. So I don't know.
All right. So who do you find attractive? I don't know. Right. Who do you want to talk to then? I don't know. Are you going to talk to anyone? I don't know. And that's where it becomes very difficult, because we're at an event that is designed to get you engaged at the very least. Not even if you don't play, but if you're already at a space where you don't know if you want to talk to anyone, let alone who you want to talk to, it's impossible to get to the next bit unless you kind of go in with the view that it doesn't matter if you have a connection, if you play with someone or not.
Okay, but we're getting into the realms of I'm feeling put on the spot in these scenarios then. Not right now. I mean, if you're then like, who do you want to speak to? Who do you want to talk to? And I'm then like, oh my God, why is he asking me?
But
I
you
don't
do
know.
that in a social element as well. So if we go to a social event and it's not one of ours, you will very happily sit in a corner talking to the people that you know. And very rarely will you go out and talk to anyone else unless, right, and this is where I get a little bit more frustrated. My take is, let's go and speak to some new people. Okay. All right. What we don't do, or what you don't do so much. I do a little bit, but not very much. You do even like negative amount. We don't go and talk to new people, introduce ourselves, right? We don't have that sort of ability or that greater skill at doing that. What happens is people go, oh, you're Mr. and Mrs. H, you're the bedhoppers. Okay. I listen to your podcast. And then you'll turn around and go, oh, well, I've obviously spoken to new people because I spoke to that couple that came over and talked to us about the podcast. For me, that feeds back into
that doesn't count.
That doesn't count. That feels fraudulent because you're using your bedhopper superpower, if it ever could be described as such. It probably puts off much more people than it draws in, but it is it's a means of bringing people to you rather than you going out and talking to people. And I think this in part stems back to the approach of Carolyn of old. Like before, in the pre-Simon days, in the days when you were a lady about town.
Oh, you're going back to the days of Aslan here. Right.
Well, let's hope there's no stone circles because this it's about to get rough. Now, so I know that your approach to going out and pulling as a youngster, and I know that you did a lot of that because we had the conversation about numbers, is that you went out and you would go to a nightclub or a pub or whatever, and you would stand there and people would come to you. It was like a bare necessities approach.
That sounds a little bit egotistical, but in the nicest possible way, I didn't have to do a great deal.
Yeah. I mean, you would probably go
I might
there.
Look at them. I might flirt with them using glances and eyes and,
right.
I wouldn't necessarily stride over there and talk to them.
So I think the skill of going and talking to new people is not one that you necessarily developed at that point. Okay. The skill of me over trying was developed by me because, I am not a good-looking chap, and I have to.
Yes, you are.
But thank you. But I'm not looking for that sympathy. But,
but
certainly younger Simon was not, and he had to work hard to get those sort of connections.
You had a lucky shirt there, right?
Yeah, I had a lucky shirt, and it worked at least twice, right? So I think there is an element of that. I think what's fascinating is that younger Carolyn had the ability to go and find people on the night, wink at them, and fuck them.
Yeah, probably.
And now, older Mrs. H, through the means of time and being ruined by living with me for so long, it struggles with that approach. And I find it really, really interesting. But I understand because you have a very, very comfy, easy existence in that world because we've got, as I said before on the show, we've got a suite of friends that we've met and we've kind of established that we are very, very fortunate. Honestly, we have the most amazing friends, and I genuinely mean that. I love our friends, and and some of them are fuck me. You know what we've forgotten to mention?
What?
There's a new hopper in the house.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll
friends, we'll come back to that.
We'll mention that one in a bit.
Yeah. All right. So okay. So
Squirrel.
We are very, very lucky in that we have this amazing suite of friends that we can see without actually having to go to socials and work the sites because you don't work the sites either.
Okay.
This isn't a go at you. This is just observation.
At the end, are you going to list all these things in alphabetical order? All the things that Mrs. H doesn't do.
It is not the problematic episodes of Mrs. H.
Actually, that is the shit swinger.
No. It is us because we are a team, and I absolutely appreciate that. Right. But we're very fortunate in that we have this group of friends that we can see on a regular basis. So rarely do we actually have to go to clubs, events, or whatever. In fact, when we do go, it's often because I think, in your eyes, certainly, it's an opportunity to catch up with a variety of those friends in one go and kill many birds with one stone.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And to be able to chat to lots of people that we care about and that we like in one go. So I think the actual for you, I think in your head, I think you've sort of almost conflated these things as a very much a social, very much a sit in the corner. And also you're not naturally inclined to go out and find more people because your life is fairly replete with that.
It is. Yeah.
And I also think that in terms of what we're looking for, when we made a lot of those friends, that was what we were after. Like we were after lots of couples and single ladies or whatever.
Yeah.
And as we've kind of moved on, our sort of target has changed and evolved a bit. And I think, I think you're less interested in the men and you're much more interested in just ladies. And I think getting your head around all of that stuff and all the stuff I've just talked about is quite a challenge.
Okay.
However,
All right.
with all that in mind,
Uh-huh.
we do need to talk about Cab Tagged. So I don't know
Yes.
what the answer is on this, but let's chat about what happened at Cab.
Let's talk about
and
what
let's
happened
go through the
next.
roller coaster, because after having said all of this and all of these thoughts gone through my brain and us having this conversation on whatever night it was,
Thursday.
the Friday was a very, very different day.
It really was.
And
So Friday, for context, was also the last day of sunshine, good sunshine. And we knew the following day was going to be forecast storms. This is important because we changed some plans due to the weather.
so I think there was, from what I remember, there was due to be a thing at the Glamour in the evening.
Correct.
Which was a swing club,
Yeah.
and I can't remember what was during the day. It was, but we basically, I think it might have been back to that pool party again,
was, yeah.
potentially. Which I'd had enough of that pool party. I mean, I like having been there once when it was busy, and then once when it was not. I was like, well, I don't want to keep going back to the same thing.
Want to see something different.
And also, I was feeling that doing the same thing in the same way, that hadn't really proved that successful for us in terms of building new connections.
So we were trying something different.
So, trying something a little bit different. So during the morning, get up on Friday morning, and we do our normal thing. In fact, I cook you a breakfast. Delicious.
You did. The last 3 days you cooked me a delightful breakfast.
Yeah, rather than dealing with the hotel breakfast, because I'm awesome like that. No guilt breakfast out of me.
So I sat there on my throne, apparently, with my holier than thou attitude.
Yeah, watching Green Ring, yes, and accepted me bringing you food and coffee.
Wearing my mantle.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think you wanted to stay in the room for a bit longer, and you were just chilling out and
Just for a little bit.
Just for a bit.
But I knew we were going to do something later in the day.
So I went into the pool that was with our hotel and just chilled out. Got speaking to a few different people as I do. And met a really attractive lady, just chatted to her on a lilo, thought nothing of it. Like lilo. They were like pillows that you could sit on. There wasn't even a lilo. It was like really nice, comfy, big, gigantic pillows that you could float about in the pool, being a lounge lizard. Thought nothing of it. And eventually you came out and we just chilled out a bit, didn't we? There wasn't too much going on. It was relatively quiet at the pool.
Yeah, it was a quiet day. Yeah.
And it was just a sort of really nice, sort of little chilled out morning. Then we decided that we would go, to the foam party, the moose party.
Which is also at the Glamour.
Which is, so the Glamour has two sides to it. It has the sexy, sexy nightclub on one side, and then the insania pool party and foam party or whatever on the other.
Party.
And they're in the sort of two buildings next to each other, separated only by a small walkway, essentially. So we decided that we'd go along with a few of our group to the pool party. Mm-hmm. And we know that for the pool party, you have to have like a transparent bag. So we chucked our transparent bags in our I guess, necks, on our necks, round our necks, whatever it was.
I didn't wear mine.
You didn't know.
I put all my stuff in their lockers.
Well, so we checked
you
it,
had your
and it was what,
transparent bag.
25
euros for a couple.
For a couple, which was bargain.
Yeah,
absolute bargain.
Seemed very reasonable.
So you're not allowed clothes in there. You're allowed a towel.
You're allowed clothes in the bar bit. I think you can wear a sarong or whatever, but you're not allowed to wear anything in the moose.
In the moose.
In the moose.
In the moose. And you kind of hand over all your worldly possessions, with the exception of your cards and your money, which are in your transparent bag.
Yeah.
And your shoes, because, it's slippy as fuck.
You could wear flip-flops in there. Some people did, I noticed. But I think that's because they were worried about what they were stepping on.
Yeah.
Because it's just a concrete floor.
It's mostly jizz.
It's not a pool.
No.
So you're not in water.
We'll come to that in a second.
Yeah.
So as you enter and you pay your money, you go in, and for the day that we went, because it was really sunny, the place was absolutely heaving. It was just
jumping.
rammed. So it was jumping, and the music was a bit better than what we'd heard
It was
elsewhere.
a bit better.
And
it was a little bit quieter.
there were streamers going off everywhere. There's people with champagne guns. There was like a bar that you could get drinks at, and then there was like a hot tub thing in the middle. But the rest of it was just people jumping and dancing and naked.
There were people on some podiums doing a bit of dancing as well.
And I guess, it was quite a big space.
Yeah.
But it must have had like 500 people in it or something stupid.
Really busy.
It took, going, I don't know, because it must have been about 20 metres across, 30 metres maybe. It took minutes going from one bit to the other because it was just so packed with bodies. But we were like, oh, this is cool. This is like, and the vibe was just madness. It was just last days of Caligula. But I think whilst there was some sort of sex going on here and there, most of it were people just dancing and having a really good time and sort of just chatting away. And it was really cool. And it's kind of like open air, but with a bit of canvas stretched over the top for some shade. So as you go to the right of this area, we could see like a trail of foam gently sort of bubbling its way towards the crowd. So we're like, we guess that's where the old foam party is. So we get up there, we deposit our shoes in the little shoe space that's available.
And a shower there as well.
And a shower there. And we get in with a number of our group to this foam party. And it is fucking bananas. I can't begin to explain how bananas it is, because it's a room, I guess, I don't know, like a few meters, maybe 5 meters by 10 meters. It's not amazingly big as far as rooms go. In the middle is this giant spurting foamy cock, I guess is what you'd call
suspended from the ceiling.
And
it does look like a cock.
And we get in there and the foam's at about knee level, right?
Yeah, it wasn't huge.
We're kind of like,
okay, this is tolerable.
This is fine. It's warm and everyone's sort of soapy and you cannot move in this space.
No.
It was absolutely like crammed with people.
Bodies, naked bodies.
And after being in there for about, I don't know,
10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah. Then the foam started happening again. So every so often, and it's probably like every 20 minutes or something. There's probably a set time to it. It chucks out this wall of fucking foam.
Oh my God.
That just envelops you. I mean, there were people there that were like 6'5" that you couldn't see because they were covered in foam. And it just, I mean, it sort of peters out towards the edges of the room. But if you're more than like a metre and a half towards the centre, you're going to get like up to the waist in it. If you're any closer than that, it'll just totally and utterly envelop you. And you're sort of slippily rubbing on bodies. People are sort of touching you a little bit. And it's all very sexy. It's very, very full on as an experience.
It is. And I would also say we already knew in advance that I think consent rules, European consent rules, differ slightly to UK rules or what we've experienced in the past. Don't we?
Yeah, and I think this is very much of the thought process that if you touch someone and they don't like it, they'll move your hand.
Correct.
But if they don't move your hand away, then keep going until they do remove your hand.
Rather than hey, can I touch you?
And so this sexy lady that I'd spied at the pool turned up with her partner.
Yeah,
and we kind of just started slippering around and making out with them a bit.
Yeah.
And it became this really, really sexy, sensual experience it felt like we had our own little spotlight on the four of us having this interaction surrounded by, and we were quite fortunate because lots of the people surrounding us were in the group.
Yeah.
But lots of other people just jammed in there.
Oh, yeah. So we were kind of like the four of us were quite closely standing together anyway, because you couldn't not stand close to somebody. And it was very, very natural to just kind of turn around and start kissing her.
Yeah.
But I found it incredibly easy and not at all of a struggle, like mentally, to go, what do I do? Do I find anyone attractive in this room? What would Simon ask me? No, I immediately knew that this felt sexy and this hot lady was next to me, and then it became very easy to just turn around and make out with her. And so we all then made out.
Yeah.
All four of us.
All four of us. And then it became...
And there were hands involved. And then there were some really hard cocks involved. And then I had 2 cocks in my hands and kissing this girl, and that was really hot.
Now, what I will say, there was one moment where consent did become a little bit of an issue.
Yes.
And I think it's important to tell people about this.
Oh,
because
yeah, 100%.
I think
it's something that might happen to anyone there.
And I think it was, the whole environment was really, really sexy. And for 99.9% of it, everyone was very well behaved. Everyone was absolutely respectful. And if you told someone no, they would take their hand away. Now, there was this guy that was next to you. So you the two girls were making out.
Making out with...
And this guy was stood on the other side. So if you imagine that you two are facing each other, I'm at one side and he's on the other side.
Okay.
And her fellow, I think, was behind her, I think. Right. I want to say it was that sort of formation. Anyway, this guy, I could see something was going on. So I said no to him, like waggled my finger and did the universal no sign. And he sort of went, and then it didn't really do anything different. And then I was like, he's standing there in a really odd way. My spidey sense was fully tingling. And, you know, I was hard because, you know, the ladies were holding me, but my spidey sense was going off. So I slipped my hand inside between the two of you and found that this guy was just blatantly fingering you.
Huh.
Now, so I took his hand because I knew that you wouldn't have been happy with that.
I wouldn't have had a clue who was doing what.
And I think you thought it was either me, the chap we were with, or the girl that we were interacting with.
There was no way of
knowing where that...
figuring out the finger.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't see anything. You were so tightly packed that anyone's hand could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have discerned a limb from a limb.
Yeah.
Frankly.
So I grabbed this guy's hand, crushed it a bit, and he gave me this look, and I was like, no. And then he just
his hand away.
Yeah, and he was an old guy, and he went back to his partner or whatever it was that he was doing. And I think because of the environment, you kind of, and how sexy everything else was, I think we just kind of glimpsed past it, really. It didn't become a massive issue.
I kind of almost expected a drive-by fingering, if I'm honest. It was the kind of environment that it almost not welcomed it, but invited that kind of liberated approach of, well, it could be anyone's hand, and if you really don't like it, then move the hand away, rather than...
But I think the thing was that you didn't know whose hand it was, and I think it was a natural assumption that it was one of the three of us.
I did.
It couldn't have been one of the four of us because you knew it wasn't your hand.
I knew.
And so I think it was a little bit of a moment.
Yeah, a little
but
bit.
we very quickly dealt with that. The guy, once I'd removed his hand and given him a very clear fuck off look.
Yeah, he didn't try to.
He didn't do that again. And after that, we didn't have any further problems.
No.
So we must have stayed in the phone for like a couple of hours on and off.
Yeah,
jumping
on and off, because it obviously then petered out a bit, and then some kind of bodies would disappear while the phone was like resting, and then would come back in like 15 minutes, ready for the next onslaught.
What I did love, though, at one point, some friends of ours were going for it against the railings. He was really going for it from behind with her, and the foam thing started happening, and they just got enveloped in this sort of sea of foam. And then after a few minutes, like the foam just sort of disappeared, and they were still going. I was like, "That's hot. That's
what
fucking
I
sexy."
enjoyed was around the perimeter of the room there was like some railings where you could stand up on a different level and overlook the whole foam thing.
Oh yeah,
and there was a guy up there. Just overlooking the whole foam situation, but also covered in foam himself, with a lit cigarette and a drink. Just like, oh no, not a drink, but he had a lit cigarette for sure. And I was like, how the fuck has he lit a cigarette in this foam?
It was the most French thing I'd seen.
Just like,
all he needed was
chill
some baguettes.
there, like, hey, just watching all this stuff going on. I just couldn't get over that someone had just lit a cigarette and was watching this madness unfold.
It was quite bonkers.
Yeah.
I think, and then we kind of came out of the foam after a couple of hours of sort of foaming and jumping up and down and dancing, and it was really sexy because everyone was like rubbing on each other, and you just like slip and slide the whole time.
Yeah.
And not literally slip inside the whole time.
No. Although you did have condoms in your bag.
I did. I didn't see a lot of condom usage there.
I didn't actually.
But
no.
also,
I did see some, But I also saw a lot without.
Yeah,
which were going to be a bit like, oh shit.
But did that mean that there were partners that are playing, or who
quite
knows?
possibly, but,
So
yeah.
we did end up sort of coming out of the foam, washing off, and just trying to breathe, because I had surrendered to the foam gods on a number of occasions and been completely enveloped. Unfortunately, someone at one point did, whilst trying to wipe away their foam from their eyes, because you can't fucking see anything.
All you can do is blow in each other's faces,
Yeah.
just to disperse the foam from your eyes.
Well,
Really.
I got whacked in the face by mistake,
Yeah.
which made me breathe in, which made me inhale a bunch of foam, which was the scratchiest, most horrible, disgusting.
And it did sting your eyes a little
Yeah.
bit if you were unlucky enough to get it in your eyes directly.
So I think,
but it was very, very, very fun.
Absolutely,
I loved it.
Was fantastic. And then afterwards in the party, bit outside, we just chilled out there for a bit, chatting to our new sexy friends.
Warmed up
A bit.
because actually, when you come out of the foam, it's not that warm because you're not.
Well, you're not surrounded by like a gajillion
Exactly.
people
and you
slipping
realise
on
suddenly,
you.
just like, oh my god, I'm actually a bit cold now.
Yeah, I think it was quite a moment of holy shit. Let's get in the sun, dry off. Let's
have a drink.
What I love is that you see people wandering around and they had like big chunks of foam stuck to them and stuff. So it was nice to sort of get out, have a drink, have a little bit of a chat, and it was just about possible to have a conversation.
Just about. It was a little bit loud, but all right, you could just about.
And then we decided that we'd go back to our room, just to go our separate ways and just kind of get ready for Le Glamour and have a kip.
Oh god,
because
that wasn't starting until 11 p.m.
So one of the things that is really important to note is that Le Glamour doesn't open until late.
Yeah.
And the party doesn't get going until late.
No.
And then it finishes even later.
4
so
a.m.
with this in mind, we thought it was a sensible idea for us to go back to our room, have a good sleep for a couple of hours, or at least try and rest up.
And be ready.
And get
enjoy
ready
a
for
good
this.
night.
And one of the things about Le Glamour as well that it's important to know is that you have to be well presented. Like women have to wear high heels, they have to be suitably attired.
Yeah.
Men have to wear like suit trousers and a shirt.
Yeah.
It is
It's high end.
High end, it is. And it is a more expensive place. I think it was like €60 and it included 2 drinks.
But that was really good because it did include 2 drinks, and you could get bigger packages like
€70 for 4 drinks.
Yeah, it was
Like
really reasonable.
Yeah.
Which meant you didn't have to pay cash or anything at the bar. You just bought your drinks in advance and then you covered your entry as well.
I think in my head, though, sort of in the lead up to Le Glamour,
Yeah, Le Glamour.
Le Glamour, I was a bit worried about, like, are we going to be able to get in? And I don't
Why?
know. Well, the thing is that so many people had talked about how you need to be dressed up in the right way and you have to be smart and whatever. And I was like, I had this little sort of like back of my head, like, is it good? And also, don't forget, I'd been not allowed into the other club unless I rented some trousers.
Good
so,
Lord, yeah. But you were ready for this. You had smart trousers and
I
shoes
didn't.
and a shirt,
yeah.
and you were ready.
I absolutely was. But it was that moment of that in my head. So we went to Le Glamour.
Now, we had also, to the couple that we met in the phone,
Mm-hmm.
has said, would you like to meet us later at Le Glamour and carry on where we left off?
Yeah.
So that's an important plot point because we did kind of leave on a little bit of a promise, maybe.
Yeah,
We hoped that we'd meet up later that night at Le Glamour, and we were all like, yes, let's do that.
Let's do that.
So that actually set the scene, I think we thought was both going to be a fun night because we've actually hit it off with a couple. We've had some fun in the foam, and we've also committed to catching up later at the club.
Yeah.
So that felt good. Right?
Yeah, I think that was good. We'd made a new connection.
Yeah.
They were really hot. Really enjoyed playing with them.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, well, we've got this sexy date, but also we're going to this sexy club and we're going to have, a sexy night. So I think we kind of went with a little bit of anticipation there.
More hope.
More hope, a bit more hope. So I think we get to Le Glamour and we pay our, whatever it is, €60 for our 2 drinks. To be fair, I think throughout the whole holiday, whilst we had drinks, I don't feel like we really, other than like the first night, had lots and lots of drinks.
We didn't go nuts.
No.
It was too hot. You were just drinking so much water to keep cool. We just didn't really drink tons of alcohol.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. So we get there.
Yeah.
And as you come in, it's like there's a dance floor, there's a bar, there's lots of seating around. Now, what I will say is that some of that seating, you can only have that seating, I guess, on a busy night, because they knew it was going to be a busy night because it was like a Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to buy a bottle of booze. And the mix, it's like €160. And I think Kate bought that as part of their, let's look after the group. Very generously bought a bottle of vodka and some mixers or whatever. and we were able to have a seat. One of the seats was reserved, the one facing the dance floor, so we had one just off to that. But the top floor was very much dance floor, seating, bar. There's some seating at the bar, smoking area, a couple of bathrooms, as you'd expect. But we were quite lucky in that we got there and it was relatively quiet when we got there, because we were being, we don't like to queue and we want to get straight through and have a look and get seating.
Yeah.
Because I know how you feel about being sat down.
But also, it starts so late anyway. You're like, well, we might as well make the most of every minute.
Yeah,
right?
100%. So we get there and we have a look around at the top bit, and then you're not allowed to take your drinks into the play area.
No.
So we left our drinks on the table and we said, okay, while the night is relatively young and nothing's going on yet, we're going to go down, have a look and check out the play area.
God, I'm so glad we did when it was quiet.
Because it was huge. As you go down the stairs, you could go to the left to the single guys area.
Yeah.
Or the area where single guys are allowed or permitted. There was a guy on the door.
Yeah.
So if you checking that single guys only went left, if you went to the right, it was a couples area, and single ladies could come in with a couple.
Yeah.
Now, if you, as a man from a couple, came out of that room, they would not let you back in without some
hard
serious renegotiation and stuff.
Yeah.
And they would take you to where your wife was and deposit you with said wife. So it was quite
very well policed.
Very well policed. There were bathrooms with showers and deodorant and smellies and stuff. So really nicely done. It was all decorated really beautifully. Lots of curtains everywhere, lots of chandeliers. Felt very, very French, very mirrors, Parisian in that sort of way.
Loads of mirrors.
Now, downstairs...
And very muted colours and soft red
yeah, lots of
stuff.
What I will say, downstairs was fucking boiling. However, there was some aircon in certain bits, but not all over the place. Yeah. So we had a look around the single men area, and that was like a corridor, lots of different rooms in there, and lots of different sort of beds and glory holes and all that kind of stuff. And then on the right-hand side on the couples bit, it was like the same size plus a bit more, I guess, of different little alcoves, open play areas, rooms in which you could play. And so there was lots of different things, including some sort of BDSM equipment, all that kind of good stuff.
Loads.
So there was enough space there for lots of things to be going on. As we walked around, there was I think only one or two people were already sort of playing, not many, if any.
Very few people were in the playrooms. It was very quiet, and it was good to see it all looking pristine.
Yeah.
Because there was no one in there messing around.
So we went back upstairs after our brief tour, and it took a good 15 minutes to get around the place.
Huge.
It was really big, and the sort of basementy bit was really cool, and they had lots of different sections and rooms to it. So we went back upstairs and we thought, right, we're just going to chill out and just chat to some of the people that are there and just sort of hang with the group, basically.
I tell you what, when we went in La Glamour, after our disastrous tantra experience, because that was my only ever, introduction to the clubs.
Yeah.
And that was awful. La Glamour was, oh my God, fabulous.
Yeah, compared to where we were.
Blown away how glamorous it was. It was really lovely.
It was literally Le Glamour or La Glamour, I don't know which.
Actually fabulous.
And I think it felt high end.
It did.
It felt like a place where lots of sexy people would come to, and it did. As it filled up,
it really did feel like everyone had made an effort there.
Yeah, the clientele definitely made an effort.
Yeah.
Lots of people were dancing, lots of people were getting involved. I don't think there was any play upstairs. I think you had to go downstairs.
No, I didn't see any.
But to be fair, we sort of stayed around our little spot. The music was okay.
It's fine. You could hear.
You could hear. The level was fine.
Unless you moved further into the middle of a dance bit, but again, where the seats were, it was audible. You were fine. Quite
sort of Eurodance type stuff or EDM stuff, but it wasn't as offensive as some of the stuff that we'd heard earlier in the week. So it was just the right sort of ambient level, I think, for us. And if you wanted to go and dance, there was definitely a space where you can go and do that, which is really, really cool. So we're sat at our table. Mm-hmm. We've managed to get some seats thanks to Kate purchasing a bottle for a glorious €160.
Came with a firework.
I didn't see the firework.
I know you didn't. I did.
I missed the firework.
I saw the firework.
I'm very, very, very sad about the lack of
I saw the firework.
I did see someone else's fireworks, so that was absolutely fine.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. And then the lovely couple that we'd been interacting with earlier on the day showed up.
At the phone party.
They showed up at the phone party, but they showed up at La Glamour.
They did.
Looking fantastic and amazing
Yes.
and sexy and everything.
That was all lovely.
Yeah, and what happened? Tell us, wife.
Roy joined us at the table
Yeah.
for, 15 minutes, and we just chatted.
I think everyone was doing the same thing as us, which was they were grabbing their drinks,
Yeah.
putting the drinks down, doing the wander around as quickly as they could to have a
while
look
it was
around.
quiet enough.
While it was relatively quiet. And this was, we'd only been there, I don't know, about 45 minutes or something at this point, I guess.
I think it was probably about midnight or so. Yeah, it was about midnight.
Not that that particularly matters, but we'd been there, we'd had a look around,
Yeah.
we settled down, and they show up looking fantastic. So we sat down and had a bit of a sort of chat to them.
And then I suggested that we go and check out the playrooms together.
Oh, yes. A wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Any nod is as good as a wink to a blind bat, eh, right?
That's right. I was pretty proud of myself for going, hey, let's go and check them out now.
And they seemed very amenable to that.
They did.
And so we went downstairs and
It was
lo and behold, it
heaving.
was fucking rammed with people playing.
It
right?
actually was completely full. Well, no, actually wasn't completely full.
Not completely,
it was
but
very full.
So we did a walk around, right?
Yeah.
And pretty much every bed was taken. We didn't go into the single guy area because we didn't want to have that additional interaction with people. So we did find one spare area. Now, this was like a mirrored room, right?
Yes, and you had to duck your head to get into the
it was
room.
almost like a little cave that had mirrors in there.
Yeah.
Now, it was quite a confusing little space, and because you didn't know where the walls were because of the mirrors.
Yes, it looked huge at first because the mirrors.
But
then
it was
you're
really like the
actually
space-
It's just a space for 4 people.
Of a double bed, probably at about 4 foot tall.
Yeah.
And sort of to get in there, you had to duck under a
Yeah.
thing, like a little ledge that was, I guess, about 5
Mm-hmm.
foot. And then underneath the crawl space was about 5'8" and a tiny bit because I could stand there.
Could you?
Yeah, I could stand there without shoes. And there was like a millimeter between my head and the ceiling, which is quite funny. So, but then you had to duck further down to get onto the bed. But there was some clothes hooks there in the little cavey bit, and there were wipes and there were condoms around. So, and we'd bought a play bag anyway, so we were absolutely
It's a
covered.
cool little space.
So-
It was very hot though.
What I really enjoyed about this particular encounter was not just the sexy times, which were amazing. And we're not going to go into that because we don't have enough time. So very sorry about that.
But we had some very sexy times.
We had some very sexy times. A couple of things that I did want to mention, though, is that we had a very sensible sort of what's everyone's do's and don'ts. What do we like? What do we don't like? So that was really useful, like a really good consent conversation.
Your elevator speech.
Yeah, elevator speech. That went really well. That was and I'm not sure how frequently they've encountered those sorts of conversations. So that was quite a good thing to do. And then what I found is that as we were playing, if you looked up, there was a constant stream of people just queuing through the place, just looking, just walking through like they were looking at exhibits at a like a museum or something.
It was quite dark in our little crawl space though.
I think we were quite lucky because in order to see really what we were doing, you either had to be quite short or you had to bend down, and therefore people weren't really kind of interacting with us. Now, I feel if you were on the beds that were quite sort of exposed along the corridor or whatever it was along the walkway, then actually people may well reach out and touch and interact.
Maybe.
But for us, we were very fortunate. We didn't really want that, and I don't think they were particularly keen on being
we
watched.
didn't, no.
So, and it's not normally my jam, but actually that separation of that little under cave bit or whatever we want to call it really helped keep people a couple of steps back. And it also meant that you really couldn't see faces. So you could see people were there, but you couldn't see them looking at us.
No, you couldn't really see. I couldn't see anything, to be fair.
But it was quite interesting. I was going down on her and I looked up for a second, and it was literally, I couldn't see the outside because there were just people walking along the thing. And I don't think people necessarily realised that there was actually a room there at first. But I think it was a lot of, it was just legs and, sort of arms and stuff.
Yeah.
Just queuing past. Not so much people looking in, although we did have some of that. I think the room itself provided a natural barrier. So we had this really wonderful, sexy time. It was really fun. We cracked out a couple of toys. That was cool. Showed them that. And it was really, I will say, really fucking hot. But it was also really hot fucking because the room we were in had no form of aircon.
No.
The bed opposite us, I think, had, and we could, when it wasn't a queue there, we could see some other friends doing their thing in the more open platform and stage there.
With aircon.
With some light aircon going on them. So when we, because we got dressed to go back upstairs, fuck me, was I warm. I was like, almost like, not quite overheating, but I was definitely much, much warmer.
It was very warm.
Than I'd have liked.
Yeah.
So we went back upstairs and we ended up staying there for another sort of... Another hour, perhaps, sort of chatting to them, sort of making out with them a bit more because, they were fun to make out with.
Yeah.
And chatting to a few other people that had come along, and some people turned up later that we knew. So it was good sort of saying hello to them. And then we decided that we had a very fucking long day.
About 2:45, we went, right, let's go.
And I think they stayed there, and I have no idea what happened to them.
I don't know,
the rest
but
of the
they
evening.
got there later than us, so maybe we must have stayed a bit later. But it was 2:45 by the time we left, which didn't seem too shabby to me.
No.
I thought we've made a good effort today.
Given that we'd done the foam party, and although we'd had a rest in between it all, it was like a pretty full-on,
late,
quite a long day, but it was a really sexy one. So we went back to our room and pretty much hit the sack and were out like lights.
Yeah.
Now, the next day...
That was the stormy day.
The weather changed. It went from a balmy 32 degrees Celsius, 34 at one point, 30 degrees, with not a cloud in the sky, to absolutely fucking emptying it down sideways.
And thunder.
And lightning.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely tipping it down for most of the morning, I think, and a good chunk of the day as well.
It was most of the day.
Now, this was the day that we were supposed to go to the phone party, the official phone party.
Yeah.
So a couple of things happened. We had the weather turn.
Yeah.
And then mid-morning, you started to get the cold sore tingle, right?
Familiar tingle again.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
So I think as a result,
Yeah.
I mean, I really wanted to go to the phone party because it was going to be closed for a while because it was going to be rained off.
Yeah, they
and then,
delayed the opening of it because of a storm.
And then up until last minute, then they reopened it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we could go. But then I think knowing that you started feeling the cold sore tingle, not to be associated with the spidey tingle, very different feeling.
Very different.
I think you didn't want to put anyone else at risk.
Absolutely not. There were several things in my head at this point. I absolutely didn't want to put anyone at risk, for one. And as soon as the tingle happens, you're like, oh, right, no kissing anyone.
Yeah.
But also, I'll be honest, I was really gutted. I was like mentally distraught because I thought, no, this isn't fair. And I really didn't really want to go and watch you make out with people.
No.
If I was like man down, I was like, no.
But
no,
also,
sorry, I'm being really selfish with this one, but I actually really didn't want to be around other people kissing when the last thing I could do was do that.
And I think, you did sort of suggest you could take me to the phone party.
I said, I'll drop you off there and get you in as a couple.
Well, initially you
and
said...
then come back and collect you.
You said I could go by myself. What I want to point out is that it's like €25 or something for a couple, but €500 for a single guy.
And I didn't realise that at the time. But also then I was like, well, I can always get you in. We can go as a couple. Then I'll after half an hour, I'll wander off and come back and get you later.
And there were two things about that. One, I didn't want to be kicked out for having gone in as a couple ticket and then not being with my wife. That. Especially how we'd seen sort of the way that the security had dealt with people at Le Glamour and various other places. So there was that in my back of my mind. But also, we'd come on this thing as an adventure together. This wasn't like a solo trip. I can imagine if you were playing over there and I was playing over there, that's fine.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that I think you'd have been really upset had I gone. And I didn't want to put you in a situation where you were really upset. And I know. You wanted me to have a nice time.
I was trying to just be bigger about it and not be a dick.
Yeah, but that wasn't... I
really
sense...
wasn't... I wasn't being nasty about it or anything. I was just like, oh, you should probably go and have a good time because I'm not going there. So I was just trying to do a nice thing for you.
And I think... So I wanted to go, but I didn't want to go without you. And and as nice as some of the people that were there in that group, I would have been going as a single guy effectively. And I think...
Yeah.
And as we've said, our connection to all of the people that were there hadn't been particularly sexy. I mean, there was obviously the really hot couple, but I didn't want to go there and just be like a hanger on the side and you know, because we hadn't had those conversations with other people as a, you know, what are their dynamics in that sense. So we didn't go to that, and we just kind of went and got some nice food and chilled out.
Went for a long walk.
Long walk in the rain. and just sort of chilled out, really. Now, the evening was due to be the white party at the
Babylon
place.
Yeah.
But that ended up being sort of rained off.
And
I think everyone, to be fair, I think everyone had seen enough of the Babylon thing to kind of go, because we'd done the pool party there.
Yeah.
That was fun, but not necessarily what we'd be seeking in this situation where you can't make out with anyone. And also the second time we went there in the evening, it was very quiet and it was like a bit So I think and because of the rain, it sort of got a bit rained off. So it was decided that someone would just host some drinks in their room and people could just hang around outside as the rain had now slacked off. Now, my costume for the white party was like a meshy thing, so I was like, fuck that, I'm not wearing mesh when it's got a bit colder and we're standing outside, so I just wore something smart. You wore your white dress thing, but I think, you know, you sort of sent me over there because I think you wanted to sulk for a little bit before you came out and
before I faced people. Yeah, I was really, really cross at this point by the lip situation, because I honestly wasn't going to do anything with anyone, because that would have been morally reprehensible and very inconsiderate of me. But also I was pretty bummed out. Like, fuck's sake, that's not fair. Last night, you know.
And I think that by the time we got to last night, there were some connections that we'd made where we could have made out at the very least, and could have done some
which
naughty
annoyed me
stuff
even more, because I was like, damn it.
And there were some opportunities, particularly when you did come out, and we'd stayed out for a couple of hours and had a few drinks and were chatting to people. But just as we were sort of going, obviously this is like the last night. The last night
lots of people were leaving
in the morning.
The next day.
So we were saying our goodbyes, and then people were trying to make out with you, and you had to sort of...
that was really awkward, because then I had to be like, I know the rest of the week I've been like, oh, fine, but now I'm having to explain I can't kiss you, which is annoying, because
and there were people that you wanted to kiss that you hadn't kissed, so you had to have those conversations. And just as we were leaving, then the hot couple turned up as well, and we're like, oh, we're really sorry, but it would be lovely, but we cannot.
No, but you know, fortunately for you had perfectly working lips, and so you did use those.
Well, I want to point out, gentle listener, that I used my wonderful lips, as you may well have phrased it. That's what I assume you said.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like making out with people for ages. It was like a kiss. Like I don't want...
I get that, but there were multiple people, and I was like, damn it. And I was just stood there like, fuck's sake, like under my breath, obviously.
So then we went back to our room.
Being mutinous.
And you weren't happy, were you?
I cried. I'm just going to fess up, and I cried. I was very
pretty
upset.
much kicked the table, flipped the table, cried, had a sulk.
I did.
Had a moment.
I think I was justified.
I understand. I
really
absolutely get it.
I was very, 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 very cross.
Having kind of gone from our space in the middle of the week where we hadn't really made connections, and we weren't in the space where we felt like we wanted to play, to having one really sexy day, and then on the last day when you've kind of, it's not the last ditch attempt, but there is something magical about the last day where people are a little bit more chancy.
There were some connections, like, you know, bubbling away there that I then couldn't act on.
Yeah.
So I got really shitty about that, which again, I feel justified. I'm not proud of losing my rag and crying, but I do feel like I had valid reasons for that.
Yeah, I absolutely understand.
And I think anyone would have done the same.
I absolutely understand, and I get it. I feel the frustration, because by the nature of you not being able to do anything, I'm not able to do anything, so I was equally as frustrated.
Yes.
Though granted, I did have some additional kisses that you were not able to indulge in.
Yes.
So we get to the last day, and we end up just as a funny additional story, we were saying goodbye to people because, we could see the breakfast area from our room. So we were popping out and saying goodbye to people, going, giving them hugs, not kisses necessarily. And we went for lunch with Kate and Daryl.
Yes.
And we went to about 3 or 4 different places because loads of places weren't serving lunch and it was all sorts of things. But we eventually found this place by the beach and we ordered what we thought, Daryl and I thought we could have a pizza before we go because the pizza's been pretty good.
Yeah.
And you and Kate thought, I know, we'll get a salad each. That's going to be,
isn't it?
Yeah,
Salad.
healthy. And then the food came out.
God.
And honestly, I shit you not, it was like dustbin lid sized pizza and salad.
I'd
and
never
we
seen
had,
anything like it.
And there wasn't any clue because when we went into the restaurant, there was no one having food there. And when they brought it out, we were like, are we being seriously fucking punked?
We were looking for cameras.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like, what is going on here? What we are being pranked by someone with, like, giving us a dustbin size lid salad.
Yeah, it was literally a dustbin lid sized salad with like
Kate
about
had 15 eggs.
and like the pizzas would have quite like we could
Serviced
have
4 people.
Yeah, like 2 of those would have serviced 4 of us very, very well.
My salad would have fed us for a whole week.
Yeah.
Easily.
Easily. So that was like just a funny
It
little
was insane.
little anecdote to the leaving.
Obviously, I didn't eat it all.
No.
I don't think Kate ate 15 eggs.
And then it was time to kind of get a cab and then get to Béziers Airport and then fly back to Luton and then drive back to Southampton and get on our
weary travel.
merry way.
I knew by this point had a cold developing.
Yeah, so the foam party, I think, where I'd swallowed some foam, it felt like I was starting to develop a bit of a reaction or a sore throat. And then I think it just ended up being like regular swingers flu by the time
I think so too. Yeah.
I left. So, and I think you've also inherited it, but it took a little while longer for you to...
Took a couple of days. I thought I'd escaped it, but no.
But alas, no, 'twas not to be. So I guess, looking back at our cap adventure... Oh, someone did message us in the meantime, by the way, and asked, can you get by without speaking French? And I'd say absolutely you can.
Oh, you can, absolutely.
You can.
Now, I have been doing Duolingo for a little while, French, but partly because I was going to Paris for Pokemon, but then obviously cap as well. And I think I didn't need it. Absolutely, you're right. Most places did speak some rudimentary English or would have an attempt at it. Most of the menus had an English translation, or you could just use Google Translate.
Google Translate was really helpful.
There's tons of stuff. So you don't need it. Absolutely, you can get by. But if you want to have a bash at it, it's quite fun.
Yeah.
And I found myself listening to it because I could understand it quite well, but I wasn't confident enough to converse in French.
I couldn't converse, but I can, like, remembering back to being like a 16-year-old and taking French GCSE or whatever, I could remember enough that helped, I knew what the food that I was eating was mostly about, and with a bit of Google Translate,
and
I was
I think
able
they're
to
quite used
confirm
to, British tourists and
English-speaking tourists turning up.
So they're quite used to it.
All you got to do is have a cigarette, order some bread and a croissant, and you're absolutely fine and you're golden. So, I'd say you can absolutely survive just speaking English. So, I think I guess the big question is, like, would we go back to cap?
Okay.
And I think this is a game of 2 halves for me.
Yeah,
I think
because if you'd asked me earlier on in the week, I might well have been like, oh, I don't know.
I think because it was interesting, because if you'd have asked us day 1 and 2, we'd have been like, well, I like the whole French village. I like the people watching. I like the nakedness was different and it was fun. Mm-hmm. The going to an event and meeting people with a view to hooking up, well, as we've discussed, we're less good at that. We don't have a solution for that yet. And I don't think we've really fully formed all of those thoughts. I think having a group there did help us.
Definitely.
And even if it was a group that we didn't know so well, but we were quite fortunate, and there were at least a few people in there that we've known and spoken to before. So I think that certainly helped us. I think we found the lay of the land quite easily in terms of how CAP is set up. And it's not massive, and you can walk from one end to the other really easily, as long as you can walk okay. I think, like, you could go without any groups and you could explore it. I personally is a bit superfluous there, but I would find that possibly a little bit stressful, just turning up and trying to do it by myself. So the group gave me an added handholdy kind of aspect to it. I don't think in this situation, because it was run by Libertine with Spicy Match, the chat group wasn't particularly chatty beforehand. And I know, I've not been on that chat group a massive amount, but certainly compared to other events that we've been to, and other Libertine ones, there wasn't like loads of. It felt that there was excitement, but it was quite subdued. And I'd even say as much to the group going that I don't think I met the whole group, and not everyone stuck together. And lots of people seemed to be doing their own thing because there were people I spoke to.
A lot of them did go off and do different things and explore different places, and they'd maybe use the group as a means to get there as part of a bigger thing, but then went off and did their own thing every night.
I think it's the sort of place where I would want to go to with a group of us, but probably now that we know the lay of the land a bit better, probably just get like 6 or 8 of us together and be like, okay, we're all going to be here from this time to that time. Let's all meet up, and we've got the option of hanging out together if we want.
Or going for dinner or something.
Yeah.
I think I would have I might have felt differently had the Glamour visit been a bit earlier in the week, actually, because that changed my opinion and changed my experience to the point where I enjoyed that so much. I was like, why did I not come and find this earlier in the week?
And the same with the foam party. I think the foam party was so
that really
out there.
elevated everything.
Yeah, I think the pool party in itself was fine, but I didn't want to keep going back to that one place.
No.
I also didn't really, nightclubs aren't my jam. So
no, not me.
And I didn't quite, because I hadn't invested too much in the looking at what was going on. I was just sort of trusting that, I'll be able to go to this place, and this is where the group is. There was a lot of nightclubs, and there was at least a couple of nights of nightclubs. And for me, I was like, well, this isn't, it's not my music. And maybe had it been, I don't know, live bands or something, I might have had a slightly different feeling about it. But actually, just going out to regular clubs felt a little bit of a waste for me. Yeah. Being in the environment that we're at. Granted, for night one, I'm like, okay, we're all getting together and this is our opportunity to flirt or whatever. But I think doing that again and again and again probably wasn't my forte. Now, we didn't do the tour of CAP, so there may have been more revealing of what's where. But I think broadly we kind of stuck to where we were. 2 days
beforehand, and we did a lot of wandering around ourselves. So
I think now that we know where things are, there's probably things like there's various pool parties that go on, or more relaxing pools where you can play and stuff like that. So I think it would be interesting to see those. I'd love to do the foam party a couple of times in the week because I think that is absolutely bonkers and amazing. I think the Glamour would be at least a 1 night or 2 night visit.
I would agree. It was really, really fun. And actually for the money, I thought it was amazing. Yeah. Compared to some of the other bits and pieces there.
Now, I have heard some people say that if you go on different nights, it's a lot quieter. So I think if you go during the weekend, it's a much busier time. So in a way, you're almost better off going like Saturday and Friday or something and making the most of that. But I get that you can't do everything, and I get that not every night is going to be a super busy one. So you've almost got to go where the crowd is going to be. So I
loved the place. I really did. I loved the vibe of it, and I really enjoyed kind of just feeling liberated enough to just wander around and not feel judged or stared at or anything like that. It was really, really nice.
I think for me, it was really useful to go with the group. It felt like the hand holding was useful. I feel like I know roughly like what I'm doing when I get there. Yeah. I kind of know the approach, and there's lots of stuff still that we haven't been to or seen yet. I think I would go back with friends. I think that having that group would be good. I think had we gone just by ourselves, it would be a very different experience.
Maybe.
And I think that would probably be more frustrating because then, we've got to meet people that speak our language, presumably, and build a connection with them without having the support of a group. But if we went with people that we know and having that freedom to go and do whatever we like as well, I think that would probably be the perfect solution. I like Cap Dagged. The naturist bit, I think that was really cool. I like the people watching. I love the wandering around naked was really fun. So for me, it's very much
and it's not super far away.
No,
it's only a couple of hours on a plane, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm not entirely sure like how much the Spicy Match element brings to it. It was nice that we were all in the same like swingers hotel. although there was no fucking reception on the Wi-Fi at all.
God, that drove you crazy, didn't
so
it?
as much as there was an app for the event, you couldn't really use it anyway because there was no.
Oh yeah, that was hard.
So it was hard to coordinate with people. You had to sort of almost go out the compound of our hotel and then message and then get all your downloads.
I mean, it would work all right. Yeah, it's weird.
So
isn't
it was an absolute black hole of signals. So that didn't help either. But I honestly, I think you could probably do like Airbnbs, or you could all stay in the same hotel, and it would be. I'm sure you'd have a great time. But if it's your first time going, unless you're particularly adventurous and particularly travel savvy, I'd say go with a group like this and make the most of it and use it to find your feet so you can go again and do your own thing. And it would cost a lot less to do that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because I don't, the Glamour, the phone party and whatever weren't included. So we ended up paying for that anyway. Yeah. So I'd much rather make my own agenda, enjoy my own things, do my own thing with my own friends, and make the most of it in that way.
Agreed.
So, but I would go back. I would gladly go back. But I think we also, as a team, Mrs. H, need to kind of figure out where we sit in the world. And I think, looking back, I do think there is something around how we treat events and how we work as a team and what we're looking for. And whilst we do have those conversations when we are going somewhere, I don't think we've quite nailed what the dynamic is and what our expectations around that are. And I think that's probably something that we need to talk about another day and explore in a bit more detail, because I think what I don't want to do is for either of us to get frustrated, you from the pressure of like having to make decisions within 7 weeks, and me wanting to go out and build connections. And I think part of our challenge moving forwards is kind of what do we do with that? And do we go to events? Do we go to, social events I think are a bit different because
there's not a pressure to play anyway.
And I think if you do end up playing, it's such a bonus that's unexpected anyway.
Yeah, it's more of a play event type thing.
And I think it's particularly the longer term, you're here for a couple of days type thing that we need to have a think about. But any play event in general, and also like to a lesser extent, how we treat how we treat social events as well, in terms of what are we trying to achieve? Are we just going to speak to people that we've already met? Or are we looking to sort of create a bit more of a balance? Because I can imagine us being like, no, we can't talk to you. We've not met you before. Fuck off. We are only talking to these 7 people here at this event, and that is our thing. It doesn't. I don't think that works. And I think there is but I also think we need to set ourselves some challenges around who do we want to talk to, and using the chat groups and stuff to try and establish some of that. Maybe, which I can see that look of dread filling there.
No, I mean I've had lots of reflections on things since we got back, and actually just generally about our differences, I think, in how we approach potential play situations. And I know that some of a challenge for me, and I appreciate this sits firmly in my arena to sort out, is my libido. And I know we've touched on this before, we've talked about this before, but I think the libido issue is at a point where I almost feel a sense of dread. Actually, that sounds a bit dramatic, but no, I'm going to say go with dread. Sometimes, because my libido is not anywhere near yours and where mine used to be, I almost feel worried in advance that I'm not looking for a sexy situation because my libido's not giving me the impetus to do that, if this makes sense.
I'd agree.
So I think what I mean is I'm not really singing from the same hymn sheet as you to some extent, because you're probably more forward thinking and thinking, well, this could be sexy and that could be sexy, and are there people here that we can be sexy with? Whereas I'm like, hello, where's my sex drive? I'm not even thinking about these things because actually it's not in my head now.
And I think that's, you know...
So that I recognise that is a blocker because I'm not thinking about things at the same rate that you are because my libido's not giving me that.
No, I agree. And that's something that we have spoken about. And I think that is one of the core.
Yeah.
I think it's, you know, there's elimination of issue, I think. And that is one of the big issues that's impacting your drive to be out there and your want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other stuff that comes into play and just natural approaches to life. I think
yes,
but I think
libido is a big thing.
Is a huge factor in this. And
I also recognise that when I am eventually in a situation where everyone else is like, oh, well, play could happen now, and I'm kind of there going, what if I don't end up feeling like anything's going to happen for me because I'm not feeling anywhere near as sexy as I used to.
Well, this is why
I overthink it,
yeah,
and then I get the dread, and then I'm fearful, and then so you can already see how it's like compounding itself.
I do get it, but I think this has been an ongoing. You know, I think it's been going on for such a long time. I think that the trouble is with this is because you don't notice it on a day-to-day basis, you don't seek a solution for it. But also, it's an easy one to not worry about finding a solution for because it doesn't impact you really day to day.
It doesn't make me ill. It's not anything like that. It's just something that's missing that because it's missing, I don't notice it's gone.
Yeah. No, I miss. And I noticed. But slipping testosterone into your coffee every morning has not helped apparently. So
got a great beard though.
Yeah, great beard. So I think there is some stuff that we can look at and try and figure out and see if we can get that balance right.
Have a look at that.
But the other thing that we were going to mention and that we touched upon briefly is that we do have a new addition to the household.
Oh my God.
Now,
we do.
There was a surprise guest that turned up on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so for a long while, I've been chatting to some amazing friends and their cat had kittens.
It did.
And I've told you that you had not been able to have the kittens.
You did.
And then I'd spoken to them behind the scenes and said, this is what's going to happen. And they showed up. They plotted. Now, you, in an attempt to get me to have the kitten, even knowing that I'm saying no, you called the kitten what?
Megatron.
And then on Saturday, who arrived?
Megatron.
And who is now a member of the Hopper household.
Megatron.
There we go.
Leading a Decepticon army.
Yeah, Decepticon
army. And Megatron is a she.
Yes, obviously.
And she will indeed lead her Decepticon army.
Yeah. So
she is small but mighty.
Small but mighty. We've been a bit preoccupied dealing with not only all the other things that we've been speaking about on the podcast, but also a tiny little savage kitten terror, just, going around with an arm cannon on her. So
she hasn't grown into her arm cannon yet.
No.
Give
but I
her
will
time.
I'll
She's
staple one. I've got a spare Megatron one kicking around somewhere. I'll just do that. But there we go. So we wanted to let you know that we have a kitten called Megatron, and she is now part of the team. Hurrah!
Yeah,
so we'll post some pictures up at some point over the next few days. Look out for those if you like kittens and whatnot.
And Transformers.
Yeah. Both things, sorted out. So, Mrs. H.
Yeah.
I think it's time for you to do your thing.
I think you're right. Well, thank you for hopping into our bed.